She never imagined that her life would change the night. She found a man sprawled in the trash behind the bakery. Rain sheeted down the alley in cold, relentless waves, plastering Sienna's patched coat to her skin. She held a thin umbrella over her head, but it had more holes than fabric. The stench of spoiled bread and sour milk wafted up from the bins. She might have hurried past, eager to return to her drafty apartment, but something about the dark figure slumped against the brick wall made her pause. A pair of polished Italian shoes stuck out from a pile of flattened boxes, absurdly elegant against the grime. She inched closer, her heart thumping. When she lifted the umbrella, her breath caught. It was a man. Not just any man, he was wearing a suit that looked more expensive than anything she'd ever touched, though it was soaked and caked in dirt. His jaw was rough with several days of stubble. His hair matted to his forehead. For an instant, she wondered if he was dead. Then he stirred, groaning. One hand groped for the bottle at his side, but it slipped from his grasp and rolled toward her foot. Sir, she said, her voice trembling. No response. Sir, are you all right? His eyelids fluttered open, and he squinted up at her with eyes the color of smoke. There was no recognition in the lonely, lost, hollow ache that made her chest twist. Go away, he rasped. Leave me alone. She didn't. Instead, she crouched down beside him, heedless of the rain soaking her jeans. You'll freeze out here, she said. Good, he muttered, and let his head loll back against the bricks. Sienna swallowed. She was 23, barely scraping by on the bakery's minimum wage. She had no family except a sick grandmother who lived 2 floors below her in the same crumbling building. She had no savings beyond a little she tucked in a jar labeled emergency. This man was none of her business. But she couldn't walk away. She thought of the times she'd nearly collapsed from hunger or fatigue, when no one had spared her. A glance, she thought of her grandmother, who always said, if you see someone drowning, at least try to throw them a rope, even if it was only a threadbare rope. Can you stand? She asked. His mouth twisted in a humorless smile. Does it look like I can stand? Sienna shifted her umbrella to rest against her shoulder and slipped her arm under his. He smelled of whiskey and something sadder like old regrets. Come on, she coaxed. It took several minutes of grunting and pulling before she got him to his feet. He was tall, easily 6'3", and though he swayed like a broken marionette, he didn't resist when she guided him down the alley. You don't have to do this, he mumbled. I know, she said at her door. She fumbled for her key, balancing him against the frame. Inside, the apartment was little more than a kitchen, a couch, and a cot shoved against the far wall. The heater worked only when it felt like it, but tonight it was sputtering valiantly. She eased him onto the couch, where he immediately curled on his side and closed his eyes. Thank you, he whispered, so faintly she almost didn't hear it. She took off his shoes and set them beside the heater. Then she covered him with her only blanket. When she woke the next morning, he was still there. He looked less like a ruined prince and more like a tired man whose life had crumbled faster than he could rebuild it. She wondered what had driven him to that elite to the bottom of a bottle. Carefully. She brewed instant coffee, the cheap kind that tasted like burnt dirt but was hot. She set the mug on the wobbly table near the couch and waited. Eventually he stirred. He sat up, blinking, in confusion. When he spotted her perched on the kitchen chair, he raked a hand over his face. God, he croaked. Where am I? My apartment, Sienna said. His gaze swept over the cracked linoleum, the sagging cupboards. You brought me here. Yes. Why? Why? She hesitated because you looked like you needed help. He didn't answer, only stared at the floor. After a while, he took the coffee and held it in both hands like it might burn through the chill clinging to him. She tried not to stare, but curiosity gnawed at her. Who was he? Why had he ended up in that alley? After he finished the coffee, he set the mug down and met her gaze. I'm sorry for imposing. You weren't, she said. I was, he corrected gently. I don't usually end up like that. He looked so ashamed she almost reached for his hand. What's your name? She asked instead. He hesitated, then sighed. Elias. She waited, hoping for a last name. Elias Rourke, he said after a moment. Like it pained him to admit it. The name clicked somewhere in her memory, an article she'd read while waiting at the laundromat, about a young tech, the CEO who'd turned a small software startup into a billion-dollar company. His face had been cleaner then, his smile polished for the cameras. Elias Rourke, she swallowed. You're the CEO of Rock Solutions. I was, he murmured. I don't know what I am anymore. He looked so hollow. She couldn't think of anything to say. Why were you in that alley? She asked softly. His jaw tightened. I lost someone I loved more than anything, and I thought, maybe if I drank enough I wouldn't feel it anymore. I'm sorry, she whispered. He nodded but didn't speak again. For the next few days, he didn't leave. He slept on her couch, showered in her tiny bathroom. and ate the simple meals she prepared: plain rice and beans, toast with jam. Sometimes the day-old pastries she brought home from the bakery. Each morning he seemed a little steadier, a little more himself. One evening, as she set a bowl of soup before him, he said, "You don't have to keep feeding me." She shrugged. "I don't mind. I should be paying you," he said. "I'm not doing this for money," she replied. Something in his expression cracked, like he wasn't used to that answer. He looked around her apartment, at the mended curtains and the jars of dried lentils she rationed to make ends meet. "How do you live like this?" he asked softly. She stiffened, thinking he was mocking her. But when she looked at him, his eyes were raw, almost admiring. "You have nothing," he said, voice breaking, "but you still took me in." "I have enough," she said simply. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, she thought he might cry. The next day, he was gone. She woke to find a blanket folded neatly on the couch and a note resting atop it. "Thank you for saving me. I don't deserve your kindness, but I won't forget it." For a week, she thought of him every time she passed the alley. She wondered if he'd gone back to his glass tower, or if he was still wandering, trying to outrun his pain. She never expected to see him again, but life has a way of surprising you. It was a month later when she returned from work to find a sleek black car idling by the curb. A man in a tailored suit stepped out and approached her, rain dripping from his umbrella. "Miss Sienna Hole." "Miss Sienna Hole." She clutched her canvas toe to her chest. "Yes." He handed her an envelope. "Mr. Rourke asked me to deliver this personally." "Is he all right?" she blurted, before she could stop herself. The man's expression softened. "Much better, thanks to you." She took the envelope, heart hammering. By the time she looked up again, the car had pulled away. Inside, she set her groceries on the table and slit the envelope open. A letter fell out. "Sienna, I don't know how to thank you for what you did. You found me at my lowest and treated me with more compassion than I deserved. I've spent the last few weeks trying to get sober and put my life back in order. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying, and I owe that to you." Enclosed. "You'll find something to make your life a little easier. Please don't see it as payment, it's gratitude. If you can't accept it, consider it an investment in your kindness and in your future. With respect, Elias Rourke." Her hands shook as she unfolded the cashier's check. $50,000. Her breath caught. She sank into the kitchen chair, the world tilting around her. It was more money than she'd ever dreamed of having, enough to pay off her debts, get her grandmother the medication she needed, and maybe even find a better place to live. But part of her hesitated. She hadn't helped him because she wanted anything in return. She'd helped because it was right. Still, she remembered the way he'd looked that night, broken and ready to disappear. If this was his way of saying thank you, she couldn't dishonor it. She clutched the check to her chest and let herself cry. The next day, she called the number scrawled at the bottom of the letter. A woman answered. "Mr. Rourke's office." "This is Sienna Hale," she said, her voice wavering. "Could you tell him I'm grateful and I hope he's okay?" "Hold, please." After a moment, Elias's voice came on the line. "Sienna, hi," she whispered. There was a pause. "I didn't think I'd hear your voice again." "I got your letter," she said. I don't know what to say." "Say you'll use it." He murmured. "I will," she promised. He exhaled shakily. "Good." They were silent for a moment, the connection humming between them. "Elias," she said softly, "are you really all right?" "I'm getting there," he said, "one day at a time." She smiled, though he couldn't see it. "That's all anyone can do." Over the next few months, they spoke often, at first about practical matters, like the logistics of the check, and then about everything else. He told her about his company, how he'd built it from nothing and then almost destroyed it when grief swallowed him whole. He confessed that he still woke some nights thinking he'd never feel normal again. She told him about her grandmother, about the dreams she'd set aside because survival came first.